After spending $5 million on YouTube ads and making back 2 to 4 times that amount, I can tell you that the best YouTube ad campaign has nothing to do with what your targeting is or what kind of placements you do on the platform. It's also not about creating dozens of ads, throwing it on the platform and seeing what sticks. No, the perfect YouTube advertising campaigns boil down to just one thing, and that is the ad itself. And the ad itself is not something that should be a guessing game, but instead follows a very simple but scientific formula that will almost ensure success on the platform. The first thing your ad needs to do is it needs to pass what's known as the gas station test. This is the idea that if you take your ad, the video that you just shot, and you walk over to someone at a gas station that's a clerk there and you show them the ad, they would know exactly what you were talking about without having to think too much about it. I don't care if you're selling to Fortune 500 CEOs or the everyday Joe or Jane, you need to make sure that your ad is easily comprehensible and digestible. More often than not, I see ads on YouTube that make me think. And the problem with making me think is I get confused and I click that skip button. Remember, nobody actually wants to see an ad, so they're looking for any reason to exit out of it as soon as possible. And one of the best reasons to leave something is when you're confused about it. The next thing is you want to make sure that the ad is less than 2 minutes long. This will both help you because typically if it's underneath 2 minutes, you can keep people's attention and it can be clear and digestible without having to ramble on and on. But the second and maybe more important thing is that it will allow you to serve the ad on more locations. So if you have a 10-minute ad, it won't show that ad on, let's say, a 3-minute YouTube video. So if you keep the ad underneath 2 minutes, then what you can do is serve it to more people, which means that your cost per impression, which is one of the largest and most well-known statistics on advertising platforms, will be a lot lower. The third thing you're looking for here is authenticity. You want the ad to be authentic. You actually don't want to have a setup like I do here, which is how I shot a lot of my first YouTube ads, until I realized that the ones that were converting the best, the ones that were generating me millions of dollars in profit, were ones where I didn't have any audio equipment and I was walking around with my phone with no kind of like makeup on, no kind of any kind of studio setup, and I was just being as authentic as possible. Because if you think about it, that's the majority of videos on YouTube. It's someone with an iPhone or someone casually shooting a video. So if they get shown a video first and it's this really pristine, clear cut, like stocky almost video, they're gonna know it's an ad and their brain's automatically gonna shut off from it. But if you instead just have your phone and you're walking around like this, it's more likely they're gonna think they're actually watching a YouTube video versus an ad, which is when the copy and some of the other things we're gonna talk about here in a second are gonna start playing their part. The next important aspect of the ad is gonna be that you're selling the click, not the funnel, or you're not selling the offer. What I mean by this is that too many times I see people when they're running a YouTube ad, they're literally trying to tell the entire offer that they have, everything that they do, their benefits, their negatives, their features, all of that stuff inside the ad itself. And you have to realize that most people have an attention span less than a goldfish. So if you just go deep into websites and screen shares and all this stuff, you're gonna lose them completely. So all you're trying to do is take them, because it's called what's known as disruption marketing. So you're interrupting them when they're doing something else. So you want to take them from what they're about to do and you want to take them to another page where you have the ability to sell them even more. So really the ad should sell the click to the next page. That page should sell the click to the next page. And eventually that page will sell the click to purchase or to book a time to speak with your team. You should do that in that order. If you try to sell too much up front, you're going to get people who are either too confused or don't want to be sold to, and they'll hop off. The next thing I want to show you here is actually the framework that we use to create ads. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, but the way that we create ads is we create multiple hooks with one strong body. So a hook I'm going to talk about here in a second is typically the first 5 to 10 seconds of an ad, and that's where you get people's attention. And then the body is going to be the meat of the ad. That's when we're explaining what we're doing a little bit more. We're adding social proof and a few other things. So what I don't want you to do is just create 10 different ads, 10 different versions, A to Z, like 20 minutes worth of content, because in reality, that's not sustainable and it's actually not really the scientific way to create ads. Instead, what you should look to do is spend ahead of time creating 3 to 5 different hooks, which is those first 5 to 10 seconds, and then just 1 or maybe 2 really solid bodies. So in the end, will have a Google Doc in front of me and I'll shoot the hooks first. So I'll just shoot, the first 5 to 10 second clips. I'll shoot 3 to 5 of them back to back, and then I'll shoot the main body body just once, and later on in post-production in stuff like iMovie or Final Cut, I'll combine those together. So in this example here, we have 3 different hooks, and then we have one main body. That would give us 3 different ads. And what we might realize when we're doing this is like, hey, this hook 1 works really well, and this body works really well, and these 2 hooks don't work well. So what I would do when I'm trying to scale the ads is I'd actually create a hook 4, and then I would do body 1, right? But let's say, for example, none of these hooks worked and none of the bodies worked. What I would do instead is probably take those same hooks, and instead of hook 1 or body 1, excuse me, I would create body 2, right? So now I'm trying a different body, because maybe it wasn't the hook itself, maybe it was the body that was the problem. And you could also create hook 4, hook 5, and hook 6, right? And this would lend to the same body too. Okay. And this is how you're able to really easily test all iterations of the ad. If every single time you have to create an ad, you have to shoot it from A to Z, the entire 1 to 2 minutes, you'll almost never create ads because it's going to be too difficult to do. And then when you run into that problem, you're not going to be testing enough creatives, and so you're not going to be able to scale. So you want to make it as easy as possible by separating between hooks and bodies. Okay, so now that we understand the foundations of creating a good ad, let's talk about scripting the actual ad itself. So the first part of the ad is going to be what I just talked about a moment ago. This is the hook. Inside a good hook, it's typically 5 to 10 seconds, and you actually want to strongly disqualify people. I didn't say qualify, I said disqualify. One of the reasons why I love YouTube is because you only pay if someone clicks on your ad or if they watch more than 30 seconds, which means that you have a good bit of time to send all of the most unqualified people off of your ad. And there are subtle and unsubtle ways to disqualify people. An unsubtle way to disqualify people would be something like, if you are not a real estate agent, I don't care who you are, get off of this ad right now. A subtle way of disqualifying could be like, attention real estate agents, or you could say something along the lines of, did you do 5 to 10 home sales last year? You didn't even say the word real estate agents, but obviously only real estate agents do home sales, and so you're technically really subtly disqualifying anybody that doesn't do home sales. Most people are afraid that if they push too hard back by the disqualification process, that their ads aren't going to be profitable. But I've actually found the opposite of that to be true. Typically speaking, if you disqualify really hard, you'll get all the people that you shouldn't be speaking to off of your funnel, but you'll really attract the highest quality people that you can, because they're going to be like, wow, this is for me. Now, the last thing that I put in there is that you should challenge people. And what I mean by that is you should challenge their commonly held beliefs, such as, did you know that you can create money or make money on YouTube without shooting any YouTube videos, right? So everyone's like, wait, how would you make money on YouTube without shooting any YouTube videos? And then you have them hooked. So you don't want to make the hook just this bland, boring thing, because that's where the skip button pops up. They click that and they're outside of your ad. Spend some time writing out hooks that make people think, how is this possible? They might even get emotional. Maybe they're angry that you would say something like that, but that's exactly what you want to get them to the next step. The next step is going to be social proof. So this is where you've actually dug your hook in, and the first thing they think is baloney, right? BS. There's no way this guy's telling the truth. And so this is when you're going to take just 2 to 5 seconds to very subtly drop in a little bit of social proof. So you could say something like, you may not believe me, but I've done this with over 1,200 clients. Or you could say something like, I've worked with companies like Apple and Microsoft and Amazon, right? Or you could even talk about your result yourself. It's like, you may not believe me, but this was me 2 years ago when I first started, and this is me today. So you have to think that when you write the right hook, the first thing someone's going to think is there's no way that's true, which you then have to battle that with just a taste of a social proof. You do not have to sell your product here. You're not going to create hundreds and hundreds of testimonials and videos. It's just a few seconds where you kind of give them just the faint hope that this is possible. The next part of your ad is going to be the body. This is the meat of the ad. And this is, like I talked about earlier, this should pass the gas station test. So remember, don't go really deep. Don't start talking about all these features. Don't get super technical. I don't care how technical your audience is. You shouldn't go so deep into all of the technicalities and features of your product or service. Instead, make sure it passed the gas station test. Would a third grader understand what you're trying to explain in this video here? And if they don't, rewrite it. And if you're saying that you can't sell your stuff so that a third grader understand, then your stuff is too complicated to begin with, and I don't recommend running ads. So we want to make it as simple as possible. This is going to be the longest part of your ad, so like a minute, maybe a minute and a half. And you also want to invoke curiosity here, right? So we also want to be kind of teasing them a little bit. You're talking about this opportunity, you're talking about this new thing, you're talking about this thing that they can do, but you don't want to give it all away, because if you give it all away, now you've done what is known as closing the loop. You've given them a reason that they no longer have to click on the ad to learn more about it. So if I wanted somebody to maybe learn a new skill set, I talk about, hey, this new skill set gave me this, the new skill gave me this. It had nothing to do with these common skill sets that you know about. And if you want to know what this one thing is, click on this ad so you can learn more. So they're almost like bursting at the seams that they have to click on the ad because they need to know what this one thing is. And that's where I put that desire part there as well. It's important that they're desiring what you want. So you should be speaking in transformative terms. So you're not talking about, I can do this, I can do that. Instead, you're saying, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. And of course, the final but most important part of your ad is going to be the call to action. This should be the very end of your ad. You can sprinkle it subtly in the other parts of your ad, but this is where you're going to say, hey, if you want to learn more, click the button below and go to this website here. A few quick tips on the call to action. It's been shown that if you actually screen share exactly what that person should do, you're more likely to get them to do it. So if I was to say, hey, if you want to check out this free training, click the button below, enter in your information and go to the next page, I would literally, while I was talking, show on the screen a mouse clicking the ad, then going to this page, entering their information and going to the next page. That way it's stupid simple, so a third grader could understand it and would pass the gas station test. And then the final part of the call to action is to have what we call an end screen. So if you finish the ad and at the very end of the ad it just ends and the video that they wanted to originally look at start, then your call to action has disappeared and they almost cannot go and check out your page. So instead, what you want to do is add like a 10-second countdown timer with the words on there that says something like, click the button below to get instant access. So it gives them a second to process what they just heard, then click on the button and get what they want. The truth is, you're typically just one hire away from getting everything you've ever wanted inside your business. But of course, in order for that to happen, you have to be hiring the right people. All right, so this is the Upwork dashboard that you'll see from your client profile on Upwork. Now, let's say that we would hire somebody for something as simple as sales funnel creation. We want to build a